What's up YouTube? I'm back again with another video, and today we're going to talk about some newly released information on Rolls-Royce's space program, what they'll be focusing on, and what they are doing to try to stay ahead in the space race. I'm also adding exposure to a whole new industry that I will get into a bit later. If you like these types of videos, please remember to hit like and subscribe. I appreciate all the feedback. You guys are awesome, and without more to say, let's get right into it. So I was browsing through the Rolls-Royce website the other day when I stumbled across a new page dedicated to the space program. If you guys want to read all this, go for it. I'm just going to do a quick pause. If you want to stop the video, read all this, go for it. This is kind of the Rolls-Royce mission statement, them talking about what they hope to achieve. This picture here is interesting because it kind of shows the overall scope of what Rolls-Royce is trying to do and where they see themselves in the future. Starting off with hypersonics for space access/launch. So Rolls-Royce is developing a new propulsion system for an air/spacecraft that I'll talk a bit more about in a moment. They see themselves setting up a base on the moon and having an array of small satellites to help relay information, I'm assuming. They also want to have an in-orbit manufacture, assembly, and servicing. So basically their own floating space station where they can build and repair things in space. We all know that there's less gravity on the moon and zero gravity when you're in orbit, which in my opinion is probably the best solution to really exploring space. One of the hardest aspects of space travel is getting these massive heavy rockets and spaceships out of Earth's atmosphere, out of our gravitational pull and into the vacuum of space. Now, if you can bring up little pieces one by one, say to the moon or to an orbiting manufacturer and assembly facility, and then eventually put it together, launch it from either a zero gravity or reduced gravity environment. You can see here that from the moon, they plan to blast off again towards Mars. So using the moon is more like a stepping stone, which I think is a good idea. Once you get all your materials there, it takes a lot less energy and effort to launch from the moon. But that being said, we are a long way off from that ever being a possibility. As we press along into the future, we see that they also have plans for a base on Mars. And you can see they are definitely on board with Elon Musk and SpaceX ambitions. And Rolls-Royce definitely sees themselves having a presence on Mars. And what I think is even more interesting is they have another beam of light off of Mars, hinting at the future exploration beyond Mars and to other planets in our universe. The multi-domain applicability of our technology ensures our solutions will deliver capability to support commercial and defense use cases in addition to the space domain, creating world-leading power and propulsion capability for multiple markets and operator needs. What they're trying to say here is that there's multiple different applications for this type of technology, spanning anywhere from commercial to defense. Here they go over the main areas that they're trying to focus on. Starting off with turbine-based combined cycle. So this is the propulsion system I mentioned earlier, and I'll do my best to explain what I can. I'm not a rocket scientist. This is just what I put together from the information I could find. So basically this would be a combined gas turbine and ramjet engine. So basically it would start off as like a normal turbine jet engine, and then at some point when it reached a certain speed, because a ramjet only works once you're at a certain speed, it would transition from the turbine to the ramjet engine. From what I can tell, the heat exchanger would be used for, re-entry into atmosphere and just the overall heat when you're traveling at speeds that fast. Thermal management is very important. So this is what they're focusing on. So I found a pretty cool college article about this type of propulsion. It gets really in depth on the different types of ramjets, scramjets, and the benefits of this new technology. They mentioned here that this type of engine is used on the X-43B made by NASA, which is the future spacecraft I guess they're working on. So turbine-based combined cycle propulsion, we'll just call this TBCC. So basically, TBCC engines would function very similar to a turbojet engine to accelerate the vehicle to speeds high enough to allow transition to a ramjet or scramjet mode. So the second main area of focus and innovation is through RTG decay. This would be a type of energy generation with ultra long endurance and power, 100+ year operational life, zero maintenance. You could extract value from waste, and it's a globally unique source. So what this is, I believe, is Rolls-Royce hopefully has their own variation of an RTG generator, which is a radioisotope thermoelectric generator. These types of generators have been used for a long time in satellites. It was used in the Cassini mission to Saturn. There were 3 of them on the Cassini spacecraft. Here is one being installed by workers at NASA. I could be wrong about this, but those look like golfing like gloves. Are those FootJoys? Comment below if you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, that's a NASA guy installing one to the Cassini satellite. So here's a video done by NASA and the Department of Energy to hopefully give you some kind of an idea of this RTG power generation.
If you want to drive a rover on Mars, you have to keep in mind, there's no gas station for millions of miles, and there's no outlet to plug into for power. That's why NASA's Curiosity rover on Mars and other NASA spacecraft that explore the solar system use something called radioisotope power. A radioactive substance releases heat as it breaks down or decays. A system that converts that heat into electricity is called a radioisotope power system. These systems get fancy names. Curiosity's power system is called the MMRTG, Multi-Mission Radioisotope Thermoelectric Generator. MMRTGs are reliable and last a long time. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory is working with the Department of Energy on ways to make them even more powerful and capable. So researchers want to make the next generation of radioisotope power systems, the eMMRTG. The E stands for enhanced. The new thermoelectric technology in development is based upon materials called scutterudites. They are a part of a family of compounds with many heavy atoms and complex structures. Scutterudites conduct electricity like a metal, but insulate against heat the way glass does. At the same time, they can generate sizable electrical voltages, just what engineers need to convert heat into electricity. Engineers use this material in devices called thermocouples, which are used to generate electricity. One of the thermocouple shoes is hot and one is cold. This heat, transferred across a big temperature difference, makes electrical charges flow from the hot shoe to the cold shoe and produces an electrical voltage, and this generates useful electrical power. If these materials were put in the same kind of generator that's on the Curiosity rover with some small tweaks, the generator could be up to 25% more efficient. After 17 years, a spacecraft could have 50% more power than with the current design. That means a spacecraft with an eMMRTG could fly longer and do more science during its lifetime. This kind of research could help us on Earth too. For example, some of the heat that gets wasted when you drive your car could be reused and put back into the car to charge the battery or power electronics. JPL is collaborating with leading U.S. material scientists to design and study even more advanced, high-temperature thermoelectric materials. So next time you need to replace your car battery, think about how NASA spacecraft can't replace their batteries. But as we improve radioisotope power systems, they can go for longer and longer, powered by heat, even in the cold expanse of space.
All right, very simple and educational. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea on RTGs and how they work. I'm on NASA's website if you're wondering. So next up on the list is they're trying to focus on reliable power on demand with no emissions and no refuel. And that's where you get this picture here, which is a space micro reactor. It would be a self-contained system creating 100 kilowatts to 5 megawatts of power. It would be accident tolerant, so if it crashed, it wouldn't explode and create some disgusting nuclear leak. And it's deployable and redeployable. Microreactors are described as a subset of small modular reactors with a generation capacity of less than 10 megawatts. So basically, it's an even smaller modular reactor, hence the name microreactors. So here's a video explaining a different version of a small modular reactor, which according to the previous definition would be considered more of a microreactor. And this is what NASA and the US government have been leaning towards. This is where I believe Rolls-Royce is drawing their example from.
What if we could use a small, portable nuclear reactor to provide power to disaster areas? Or rural towns far beyond the reaches of power lines? Or hospitals in remote parts of the world? Or military bases in the most remote, challenging locations? Los Alamos National Laboratory is developing the technology to do just this. The small reactor uses heat pipe technology to generate 1 megawatt of safe, reliable power. That megawatt can power approximately 1,000 houses. The entire system will fit on the back of a semi-truck in a robust container to ensure its safety and make it easy to transport to remote areas. This technology sprung from Los Alamos' work to develop a small nuclear reactor for NASA that might someday power a colony on Mars or the Moon. So we asked the question, how can we use this same technology for Earth-based purposes? To answer that question, Los Alamos partnered with the power company Westinghouse, which will use the technology to manufacture the reactors. In less than 5 years, it should be ready for deployment, helping to support humanitarian and military missions, and saving lives in the process.
I'm looking at the Department of Energy's website, by the way, and that's their quick definition of a nuclear microreactor, kind of what they're looking at. And yeah, that's where I believe Rolls-Royce is drawing their inspiration from. Makes sense to me. There's one underlying common denominator that all these different companies trying to create these space microreactors and different types of space propulsion. There's one common denominator, and that is all of these technologies rely on some type of nuclear material, such as uranium or plutonium. So I haven't made any purchases yet, but I've been looking at all of these different uranium companies and producers. I'm looking at uranium miners and different types of companies that would be providing the fuel for these small reactors. So yeah, I haven't started yet, but I'm definitely going to start buying some uranium stocks. Very interested in having some exposure to this whole sector or industry, whatever you want to call it. I do think the price of uranium is going to keep going up. I think when people start coming around to the idea of nuclear being a more efficient, long-lasting, and most importantly, green type of energy, that the price of uranium will continue to rise, especially if it does become the optimal fuel for space travel. Still haven't decided how I'm going to get exposure to the uranium market, but I will be adding this to my stock list. So here's a bunch of uranium type stocks. There might be some weird ones in there. I just Google searched it, but one of these companies will be added to my portfolio. This, again, is another one of those long-term holds like Rolls-Royce. I truly think that the uranium type market is not a very volatile one, at least not right now. So this is something kind of just as a hedge for the future. I wouldn't be going all in uranium, but I just definitely want a little bit of exposure, having some of that in my portfolio, maybe 1% or something. So yeah. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to hit like and subscribe. You guys are awesome. I appreciate all the feedback. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Hope you all make tons of money. Stock Surfer signing out.